Moving on, we've obviously got here the New South Wales side. Once again, a completely different sort of looking side to what has been named throughout the series, which is something that the Blues have been great at doing, not having any sort of stability around the place, sort of dropping, I feel like at times, maybe the wrong people or selecting the wrong people. It's just been an absolute balls up, if you ask me. Well, as a Queensland fan, you look at this lineup and what do you think immediately?
Um, where's your identity? Where's your consistency? Are you making up plans game by game? It's just there's a lot of stuff. Freddie is a guy that and I as a footy fan, when he was in contention with Laurie Daly the first time around, I wanted Freddie. And that's not because I wanted you guys to do bad. I really thought Freddie was the guy, and when he come in, he showed a lot of great traits, but the direction is unclear. And even there's decisions that are made that are so obvious or haven't been made from the outside point of view, and you're like, how maybe he's seen something we're not because he's such a genius. But then now those decisions, we've had a few series in a row where those decisions have fallen flat, and it looks like potentially once again that's going to happen. That's my quick short thoughts. But I would like to ask you, what decisions, mate, do you like? What was it? Any that you just stuck at for? Okay, he got this right, because I guess we can go on about the negative, and we'll get to that. But let's just quickly touch on any decisions that you thought, okay, no, I'll credit to Freddie. He's done well here.
Well, I'll give him credit. There is a couple, and look, I'm glad you asked this because I know there's a lot going on, and I've definitely got some thoughts myself. But for one, I'll say the Mitchell Moses at 7, he just simply needed to be selected again. I thought he was one of our best for game 2. I know there was a lot of mixed feedback afterwards, but I feel like that's a lot of. I feel like Mitchell Moses is a figure that's easily criticised by opposition fans other than Parramatta fans. When you go back and actually look at the game, he was one of the only ones really trying, and he was the one going running around. He was trying to get the guys on the front foot, but there was no support for him ever. I feel like he was let down a lot by his inside and outside. I think Damien Cook is a really good addition to make sure he actually starts. And that's not anything bad to say on Reece Robson. I know Reece Robson's time will come, but for mine at the moment, Damien Cook's been the standout hooker for New South Wales all year, in my opinion, and he should have been there from game 1. Should have started game 2 for mine and should have played hooker. Unfortunately, he was stuck in the centre and got made sort of to show his weaknesses, which everyone knew shouldn't have happened. But I like Cam Murray starting at lock as well. I think that's going to free up the playmakers a lot, because for mine and what we've seen so far is Isaiah Yeo, even though he's very good at clubland and the Penrith Panthers are really good at what they do, I just don't like how his setup has been for the Blues basically this year and probably for a lot of his origin careers to date. And that's no knock on him, as I said, but I just think he's been too slow. And I know that Cleary likes that from him, but as you've seen now with Moses, like it's not ideal. Like gets involved with the play for mine too much. It should be to hooker to halfback a lot more than it has been for the Blues, and then that's to get on that quick front foot, or it should be hooker giving it to his props to get on the front foot, get the momentum going. So I really like the Murray change. I think Murray just definitely needed to be at lock, and I do like Chloe Matangi getting his chance as well. So there are a few of the positives. There's definitely some negatives to talk about.
Yeah, well, for me, I will include Mitchell Moses because I agree with that. From 7 to 14 on here, so if we just run that down, so Moses, Trbojevic, Cook, Gillard, Martin, Keon, Cameron Murray, Isaiah Yeo. I actually think he's done really well there. I do like how he has got Keon. I actually do like how he's starting because that is how he is used to. I'm a bit of a funny one with what side players play on. Like, people say, oh, they can play any position, but at the end of the day, it actually, the way they run, the way they pass is completely different. So my only question is, Keon, and check me if I'm wrong, Keon normally plays right side for South Day.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
Liam.
he's normally got the 11 on.
Yeah, and Liam's normally on the right side as well. So that's the only thing. But I think Keon has shown, versatility to do so, especially with a little bit of ability to play in the middle. So I'm fine with that, and I agree with the Cameron Murray point. And then Isaiah Yeo become very predictable. I think with slower forwards, he can begin to be less predictable there. I think a lot of that footy, that just playing it wide, just being first receiver, was just kind of, it just was like that muscle memory. And then he thought, oh, this feels comfortable, but it wasn't working. Hopefully, when he's fresh, when he's against tight defence, he can either play that playmaking role if there's opportunities to do so, or we have seen him where he has had games where he has racked up high hundreds, close to 200 meters. Like, he can do that if need. So I think when he comes on the bench, I think it'll be really clear. I think he'll know what will be needed from him.
That's my biggest thing with Isaiah at the moment at Origin level. He just doesn't seem to be dangerous. He doesn't seem to stress Queensland out at all. Whereas if you got Carrigan there who plays 13 for you guys, it's he's not known for his passing game, but he does have it there if need be. But his running game is so strong, and he can bend the line. He gets a fast play of the ball, gets on the front foot so often, and I feel like at the moment Isaiah Yeo isn't offering either a strong passing game or getting that meters, getting on the front foot, getting on your belly, getting up, getting going. It's just been really frustrating to watch for mine.
Yeah, no, I understand, especially from your point of view, and it's obvious even on the other side, and because when Isaiah, and for me Isaiah Yeo is one of those guys that is really hard to replicate. So when he is on, when it is firing, but it just was not working. So I think I would never consider dropping him from the team. So I'm really interested to see how he'd be on the bench. Speaking of guys that I would have never considered dropping, there's a couple of guys probably, but I want to get to this one because I know your take on this, seeing your side early in the week. But Tedesco, thoughts on retaining Tedesco?
Well, for mine, this is sort of a staple, and basically the biggest concern I have for the Blues at the moment in their hierarchy, the people making the decisions, is for mine, Brandy, Greg Alexander, and Freddie have been picking their mates throughout the series and maybe last year as well, and being victims of this. And it's just got to the point now where it's sort of plateaued. And James Tedesco for mine, and he's going to go down as one of the all-time great fullbacks to ever play the game. There is no denying that whatsoever. He'll be in the top probably 3 or 4 of all time. But there's got to be a time where you select the right time to move someone on. And you said it earlier about the fact that this is a dead rubber. It's the perfect time to get someone like Dylan Edwards into the team and say, look, mate, here's your chance to go out and just taste Origin. Let's see how it goes. There is literally not a single bit of pressure on you. So if the only 2 things that will happen to him after this would be he has a blinder and he's got his Origin career made for him and he's in there for the next probably 5-6 years, or he bombs out, but guess what? Who's going to remember it? Because no one really gives a shit about this game, to be honest. Like, everyone is probably going to watch it just to see who plays badly to bag him, but we don't really care if we win this or lose this. It's like clean sweep's a clean sweep, but the series is what everyone wants, and that's already over. So I just feel like it's also would have been a good chance to let Tedesco, not that he wants to have a rest, but just go to him, mate, go away for a week. Like, there's been a lot of pressure on you for the Blues and Roosters at the moment. He's clearly not playing good. Like, he got out jumped by a prop forward, for God's sake. Like, if this was any other fullback, I reckon the media would have roasted him for that, like more than they have. And even for the Roosters, he's dropped bombs lately that he'd never drop in his career. He just has seemed so clunky. Like, the attack every time he's around just sort of stops. It's sort of like, even watching the Roosters games, and I watched the last few weeks, everyone just sort of stops and watches him. And it just doesn't seem to make much sense. I just thought it was a perfect time to have Dylan Edwards' blood for this team. And I know it was always going to be a hard task to drop Tedesco, but if we're going to start moving on to the other positions as well, but I'll get your thoughts first on Tedesco. But there were other ways they could have blooded Edwards as well. So yeah, it's definitely a head scratcher.
Yeah, no, I ultimately went with your kind of take in terms of, because I understand what Tedesco's there, because you laid it out. Like, he is going to go down. It's one of the greatest fullbacks, one of the greatest New South Wales players ever. Especially, he's the greatest of this current era. And I don't think there's any debate over that. But ultimately, there has been a notable drop-off. We have not just seen it. You mentioned the club level, but obviously New South Wales as well. I made a statement beforehand, before the series started, that if New South Wales were to win the series, he'd be my man of the series. And that's with everything that had gone on. Obviously not coming in with the best form, because he normally steps up. Well, obviously, and I wouldn't even say, like, you see some of the stats. If you see it if you just looked up on NRL.com, you think, oh, yeah, sweet, but you watch the game, it's not there. It's not right. And I think for me, there's another big reason too why I would have selected Dylan Edwards. Now, this used to be a compliment. Now it's not necessarily negative, but I want to just hear your thoughts on it. So for me, when before the stuff was happening with Teddy, it'd be, I was kind of linked, because obviously you had Turbo and Latrell, who, yeah, obviously they're centres, but obviously freakish fullbacks. So obviously they could go to fullback. But I think it became apparent that if there was an injury, Edwards had played well enough that he was going to go straight. He would be the replacement for Teddy. Would you agree with that?
Yep.
Yeah. So just to continue with that point, a lot of it was to do with his form, and also the play style of Edwards and Teddy is the most similar out of any other fullback. You'd probably agree with that as well? Yeah. So even though I believe Edwards is in the peak of his powers and Teddy is not in the peak of his powers, we'll go back to that same style. I think he'd be okay, but I would like to actually see how it would go. You bring in someone that is similar to Teddy. Yeah, probably he's obviously not losing half a step like Tedesco, but are you going to fall into the same problems? And is it best to know that in game 3, where it's a series rubber or dead rubber, and then you see, oh, holy, this the same stuff's happening, because obviously Dylan Edwards, improve his ball handler, but is he stagnating the offense? You'll be able to see that in a series games where it doesn't matter. And then I really do like the selection here with Drinkwater. You think, okay, maybe we need a guy like a Drinkwater who is considerably one of the best playmakers in that forward position. Definitely, probably in New South Wales ranks.
Yeah.
Could it be an opportunity to see those potential question marks that could appear with Edwards? We get to see a little taste, because there's a world, and it ticks off two things. There's a world where Edwards absolutely brains it. So it's like it confirms what you thought, or it, like I said, it confirms some of the headaches. And then I think you got someone in Drinkwater who you can play a more open game with, who's a completely different style to Edwards. I know there's a lot there, but how do you think about my logic with that selection?
Yeah, I 100% agree. And I just feel like the last point on this Tedesco thing, obviously, I feel like it sums up the series. And I feel like this is where it has been won and lost for both sides of camp, is that at the start of the whole series, we go back and look at Billy Slater, and he made the tough decisions on players like Papali'i. For mine was no doubt tapped on the shoulder because of how many younger prop forwards for Queensland were coming through that were just in scintillating form and had to get chosen. So I feel like he got tapped on the shoulder. You've got then Gagai was definitely not chosen, and Billy Slater made sure he moved on from that one and had some young, exciting talent in like the Hammer. Then you look at the New South Wales side of things, and for mine, Fittler has gone safe, done the whole club selection policy garbage that no one said works at this level whatsoever. There's literally no proof of it. Look at Queensland, for instance. There's not much club combinations in there at all. So I feel like it's sort of, now you get to look back on it, that this is where the whole series has been lost. It was lost before it even started for the Blues. And that's the disappointing thing, is that there's no real connection at the moment, I feel, between the New South Wales fans and the New South Wales side, where when Freddie first started, it was probably the closest that connection's been in a long, long time. And now, after 5-6 years of his tenure, unfortunately, and we've spoke about it off there and stuff, is how well respected Freddie is. This is starting to really impact, I feel, his legacy among the New South Wales fans, just because this is starting to get to a point where most people, when you read the statuses and stuff, you read comments, things like that, people can't stand it anymore. People just get to the point where they just laugh and they go, Freddie, Brandy, seriously, just get out, like go. And these were two people who did so much for the state, both as players and as the figures that they've been. But it's like it's gone too long now. They've got this stigma about them that they feel like whatever they do is golden, and they're too proud to admit whenever they get it wrong. And I look at the lineups and stuff, and it's just from game one, people like it's easy to say now because it's happened, but Turbo was never fit enough. Where we've seen Slater, he's been ruthless. He has not picked players so far who hasn't been fit enough. Who's the people that get impacted by this? Yes, of course the players do. The players feel it. I'm not going to say they don't. But look at the fans. Look at the New South Wales fans. Like, we're now getting to a game 3 that's at home that doesn't even look like it's going to sell out. And I haven't heard anyone yet talk about it. No one is keen about it. No one is going, yeah, this is sick. We've got a game in New South Wales. Let's get to it. Let's fill the place out. Let's get going. Like it's like it's dead. And I obviously live up in Queensland now, and you walk around and you see, I've literally seen Queensland jerseys every day since you guys won the series, and it hurts 100%. But I love the passion. I love the fact that Queenslanders just, it's the old cliche. They seriously just get Origin a lot more than New South Wales get it at the moment, and it's because of that. Billy Slater's got you guys, got the Queensland community in. And you guys feel like you're part of this team with how they play and how the selections are. There's not one player selected so far in this series for Queensland that you can seriously question and go, why is he there? There is dead set probably been about 10 so far in this series or all up where you could easily question it as a New South Wales supporter.
Yeah, no, 100% agree. And I think you are really reflecting and voicing the opinion of a lot of New South Wales fans. So, cheers for kind of expressing that. I think we're going to touch on one. Well, there's a couple we will get touched to, but before we forget, look, Cody Walker is one of the form sixes of the comp, and he always is. But what have you made that selection, mate?
No, I think personally Cody Walker should have been in from game 1, or sort of not at all now, because what I feel like this has done is Nicho Hynes for mine has been left out to dry. I really feel for Nicho Hynes. I've said it so many times on the channel, so many people that watch and listen and see the posts. I view Nicho Hynes as a 5'8". I feel like he's only a halfback at Cronulla because they've got no one else to do the job at the moment. And if they could sign a dominant half, they wouldn't a heartbeat, and Nicho would go straight to 5'8". I just feel Cody Walker for mine was the form 5'8" before game 1. And all of a sudden, he fell out of favour. I know there was sort of injury problems and things like that, but there was no better time to select him and guide him through that first opening week of the Origin and get him ready to play. I think now what happens, because one thing about Cody Walker is this: he's a passionate man, but he's also can be passionate for the wrong side of things as well. We've seen him get hot-headed. We know that this game could get fiery because it's a dead rubber. Players probably won't give a crap if they get sin bin. And who's one of the first players you think of when you think about these sorts of games? First, it would have been probably Luai, who's not in the team. Secondly, you think of Cody Walker, who won't be able to. I have not seen Cody Walker being able to handle himself with those sorts of occasions. So I personally would have had the Hynes-Moses Haas pairing for this game. Let Hynes have another game, full 80 minutes this time. Let him work into the game, go from there. I think this isn't a really win situation here for Cody Walker at all. I don't know where he wins from this, because he's old as well. This is the thing. He's on the older side with his playing career. So it's not like this is a selection to have him in here for the next 3, 4, 5 years. Yeah. The bloke's going to be retired by then. This is a view. Like, I just really, like we said earlier, these dead rubbers a perfect chance to get these younger players in. Like, Hines would be defeated so far. We've already seen that with him. And I said it last week on a video, is that he was so passionate after game one about losing his spot. And you knew as soon as he got his next opportunity, he'd probably be the player of the match. He'd probably get out there and win player of the match just by how much he was hurting by it and how much it meant to him. It's just, and as I said, I've got nothing against Cody Walker. I hope he does well. I just felt like it was time for Nicho Hynes to come back. And on the plus side, I'll give him credit for this. Luai needed to go. He had too many chances. He wasn't even the form 5/8 for New South Wales coming into the series. He got there because of the whole club combination thing in game one that the selectors were fantasizing over for some reason. It was just telling everyone it was the way to go about it. But I'm glad Luai's finally gone, because he's another player for mine where the New South Wales public they can't relate to him. And that's that bond that I'm talking about, where you Queenslanders don't have that. Like, you guys don't have a player at all that you sit there and go, can't stand him. Where Luai, like, he's after that game, that post and stuff, I still just can't get over. You've just lost a game. I know the photo wasn't taken after the game, but you're posting, and the first thing you want to do really is just have a go at the fans over who have supported him for years and years, and through all the crap he's done. It's just glad that he's not pulling on that jersey come game 3.
Yeah, no, I agree. Like, Luai's been someone that has always, like, hate's not the right word. Hate comes to mind because of just being a fan, but a guy that I just haven't been able to resonate. For me, obviously that come out and, kind of got defended about the suicidal threats, or not suicidal, sorry, but death threats towards him.
Yeah.
So you get the frustration, but still does not give him the permission to do that. There was no context given, and I thought it was a really blunder.
And the bad thing about that is no one condones that at all. Like, anyone who's sending that to players or even like content creators and stuff, people always get those sorts of hate messages and that. Like, even like for me and stuff, we put ourselves out there on the system, knowing full well we could get that stuff, and we learn how to deal with that stuff. We've got measures in place to deal with that stuff. Like, you can't be telling me a first grade footballer I know for a fact after talking to multiple players, they get courses and they learn how to go through and deal with this stuff. Luai, for mine, if he can't handle it, get off social media. There is literally no need for you to be on social media if you can't handle people going at you when you've done certain things already in your career that people have been able to pick at. Like, you went to your best mate's wedding and made one of the most horrible speeches of all time, and you're not expecting people to come back at you for it. Like, if you can't handle that crap, just get off. There's no need for you to be on social media then. Like, please just get off. It's best for you. And to be honest, it'll probably improve his game moving forward if he's off that crap and the head noise can go away for him.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. We'll move it along, but I just would like to give it a little bit of thoughts on that situation, if you don't mind, in terms of Nicho Hynes not being picked. And it's nothing against Cody Walker. I think you did bring a good point up about sometimes his passion gets in the way and can be a detriment, but I think it's epitomizes what is wrong about New South Wales. They have not taken any care with Hynes. I think there were a lot of people that did think Hynes should be utility for that game. And in hindsight, it doesn't look good, but I think it's more just they didn't utilize him. How probably if you were to pick him 14, they didn't use him how he would have been thought to be used. He was just a way, and they always do that with their bench utility. And that shook my head. Obviously, didn't get picked for game 2, and I can't believe he didn't get picked for game 6. Like you see, game 3. So I'm just looking at the 6 jumper. In terms of the guys you want to invest in, because at the end of the day, like the series is lost. So it is time to invest players. And we talk about long-term investment. The 3 players I think you want to prioritise. One's Nathan Cleary, who's obviously not available. I think your number 2 would be Cameron Murray, because he is a guy you really is your heart. He is going to be the heart of your team. He's Mr. Fix-It. He is just one of the best in his position, across the whole league. And honestly, I could argue Nico Hines is your number 3. If you look at the youth and you look at the importance of his position, like you said, I agree with him. He is more of a 6. I just can't believe it. And this was a prime opportunity to do so. Did he do himself favors when he made that post about, I thought I let the state down? Probably not. So I wonder if there's more behind the scenes, maybe told Freddie not to select me. But if that's not the case, I think that is one of the worst errors Freddie has made across his whole tenure for me. So yeah, I'll leave it at that. But yeah, before and then we move along, Bradman, Best, Safiti, Gufferson are the guys that have been brought in. I feel like, and then obviously we've touched on Walker. Just your general thoughts on those selections, mate. Those 3 there. So obviously Bradman Best making his debut, and Saifiti and Gufferson have played before, but they are coming off the bench. I'm interested to know your thoughts.
Well, I'll attack the back line first in terms of the 4 and the 5 there. So Bradman Best, Josh Addo-Carr. Josh Addo-Carr, for mine, has done absolutely nothing all year. He hasn't hardly done anything at all at Origin level as well. Game 2, he was found multiple times ahead of the play. Like he was, I don't know if he was expecting a gridiron pass or something to get the ball, but he was that far in front at times. It was just embarrassing. I personally would have had Josh Addo-Carr there for this game. I thought he deserved to be dropped and one of the first to be dropped. I thought he was probably the worst player for the Blues in game 2, and that's saying something with how bad it was. Bradman Best, I know he was good on the weekend. If it was against the Dogs, they had 66 points or whatever it was scored on them. They were diabolical. Bradman Best for mine, and I've got a couple of Newcastle mates who say to me, his attack isn't the issue. His defense is the issue, and he's a very bad defensive centre. Now, I know in my post I had Will Penasini to come in and have a debut game, and I feel like he's been arguably the form centre at the moment, especially with Campbell Graham out with these injuries that so happen to conveniently come around Origin every week at the moment. So it seems like he's so close to getting a selection and then gets pulled out, but the way they've chosen it, I would have preferred either Gutherson at centre or even Chuck Drinkwater at centre above Bradman Best, because I just feel like it's going to be a bloodbath on him. He has Parramatta tore him apart when we played him earlier in the year. I've seen him get torn apart a few times so far this year, and he just can't read defences, and neither can Josh Addo-Carr. So that side for mine's a real worry for New South Wales, and it just doesn't make too much sense. And I spoke earlier about Edwards. If they're real concerned about making sure Tedesco at least gets this game, and maybe this is a swan song game, I would have had Dylan Edwards on the wing to blood him in. We've seen that with the likes of Minicello and things like that in the past. We can rely on his kick returns. That's what a fullback does as well. So just to get him into the game, at least to, as we said, to blood him, it wouldn't have been my preferred choice, but I'd rather have Edwards on the wing than at the moment Josh Addo-Carr. Now, let's go to the bench. And this is probably one of the worst benches, I would say it now, I've ever seen. The makeup of it is horrible. I was like Isaiah Yeo. Jacob Saifiti has done that before and probably would have been selected if he wasn't injured from game 1. But Spencer Leniu there at number 19, I've been calling for him all series. He's that type of player you need to go in there for 20, 25 minutes and really basically just tear shit up, to put it bluntly. He's the type of player we've seen do that. He's probably one of the Penrith players I would have had in the side from the get-go and deserves it. But to have Reece Robson on the bench, plus Clint Gutherson. Now, I'm a Para fan, but Gutho isn't a bench player, especially when you've already got your hooker there. So what you're going to Origin now doing after basically going game 1 and having 4 forwards, they've backtracked to the point they've got 2 utilities on the bench. Now, this is the same people that were telling us before game 1 they don't need a utility. They don't want a utility. They want a hooker that can play 80 minutes. Now, Damien Cook, out of the 3 hookers they've had so far, is the most qualified to play Origin 80-minute performance. I don't understand this bench one bit. And I know for you as a Queensland supporter, you must be just sitting there licking your lips going, I can't see how they're going to use this. And there's no danger here at all.
Yeah, well, once again, it's clink up some plays 10 minutes at the back end just because he can. And, the Reece Robson, Cook, if that's what they want to go, if that's what they want to go with. But, yeah, if Cook can, I believe he can do it. But if that's something what they wanted to do with, I'm fine with it. But then you throw Guffo in there, and I agree with the Spencer Lanu pick. That's what I would have done. Jake Saifiti did absolutely brain it in his debut for New South Wales. I'll give him that. But we talked about fear, and you got to what brings more fear to me as a Queensland fan, man. Lino could bring it, and it's one of those things again. We know what Saifiti has, but let's just show so we know for next year where we've got there's no risk now because we have lost the series. I can't believe Lainu didn't get picked. I also probably would have picked Stefano over Saifiti because I just think he was not used well. I would have even been happy. I actually think I would have gone with two big front rowers in the 4-pack. I understand why Junior Paulo got dropped because I think that's not the end of his career, but I think in terms of New South Wales, but I think I would have brought him in if I did that strategy to give a bit of confidence to that other guy coming on with Lanu. But yeah, because he was subpar, but that bench, and that's all honestly, and it also affects your centre combination in the weird way as well. For me, because was Matt Burton ruled out for this? Because I know
he got a fine. He got a fine.
Yeah. You touched on the centre pairing a bit, but I think I ultimately would have gone with Burton. One thing that did work for you last series was that bomb of his. That scared the living in terms of the fear factor. That was scary, and that also. For me, if he gets picked, you don't have to do this weird thing with Guffo on your bench because it just looks like you're so scared about someone getting injured where you can still have an X factor in Burden, plus you've got cover if there's an injury in the halves and I just would Cameron Murray is a goer. Just put him at centre if there's any issue there. Plain and simple. It's not an ideal situation, but look, Queensland haven't got a cover in their halves or their centres. Look, they just do it. They just do it. Ben Hunt did it. You've got to mould these players to be Origin ready to do whatever jobs asked.
There's another one that for mine should have been in this 17 somewhere, and we talk about blooding players. It's Olakwatu, and I don't know why. This is a perfect game to blood him, and for mine, put him at 17 and let him go on like a 20, 30-minute spell for one of the back rowers. Let him and Chloe halve the game time or something. Let them both have a taste of State of Origin for a look into next year. It's just, I feel like this is another big problem for New South Wales this series. It just seems like they're reacting more than being ahead of things and trying things. Like, let's talk about game one. They went with one hooker. Game two, they seen that their game one hooker was breathing, looking for air anywhere he could find it. He was out of breath with about 30 minutes to go, couldn't handle it because he didn't play 80 minutes all year. And then they thought, oh, crap, we need to have two hookers here. Then they've decided to go for that. Then they got stuffed in the centres and realised, oh, we don't really have backline cover because it should have been Matt Burton at 14 to start with. And now they've gone, okay, we need to have backline cover. And now look where we're at. We've got another hooker on the bench. We've got a backline cover on the bench. It's just, honestly, it's mind-boggling. And it's just, I don't get how everyday punters and stuff can see this and straight away laugh. If they're in their meetings with the whiteboard, the projector, whatever they're doing, the old blackboard, the selectors, write this side down. How can they seriously sit there and go, this is our best side New South Wales have to offer right now. This will get the job done. This team right now will be lucky to get within 30 points of Queensland next Wednesday. It's at the moment, it looks like it's going to be a bloodbath.
Yeah. So, I don't disagree with the Olakwatu take. Like, I wouldn't have done that because of my two forwards theory with Bolo and Linu. But if I wasn't do that, he would be in there too. He's an up and downish player, but yeah, I think you give him the right to like I've been talking about. Like, this is where you do it. When else are you going to have the opportunity to do it as well? Yeah, I agree. It's a bloodbath might be the word that we might use in the next week when it comes to this game. Any final thoughts, man? Like, overall, obviously we've pretty covered.
No, I think we've pretty much covered that. A lot of Origin chat, obviously, with the games. It's just disappointing, as I said from the start of it. As a New South Wales fan, it's really frustrating. And I thought about this today, actually, but knowing we're coming on to do this video, and I thought most times every year around the middle of the season, it gets to the point where, me personally, wish the NRL would stop and would just focus on Origin, because I love it. I love how it is. I love the passion. I love it all. This year was the opposite. I was so glad we've still got NRL footy, because as a New South Wales fan, it's just been hard to watch. It's been hard to watch not just the games, but how it's all unfolded. It's hard to listen to the spin-off that people like Freddie and Brandy try and give people in the media, and try and basically treat them like sheep and just dictate or brainwash how to think about stuff that they've done, which have been just clearly wrong. It's just been hard to be a New South Wales fan in amongst everything. That's the hard part. And I just hope after this game, there's a massive clean out. I've caught it from the start. Gus Gould needs to get a lot more hands-on with this at the moment. He needs to, either if it's a coach or just a coaching director in Brandy's role, and just install that passion back into the place. I know he probably gets to have a whisper with Brad, but I want him to go back in and be really part of it, be part of the camp, be hands-on with everyone, because I think he's the guy New South Wales needs for the next at least 2 years to get this passion back.
Gut feeling, do you think he will do that?
I feel like lately, the more and more I listen to some of the stuff he's saying, I feel like he might be getting a bit more. I feel in a way he's reluctant to do it because of his close ties to Freddie, and they have to work together. So I think it could take some time. The other one I'd love to see, and that's Matty Johns, because he has such a good brain. I don't know if he could coach, but just to be around everything, because he has such a good footy brain, I think he'd be magnificent. What I relate to this is, look at your players at the moment. They all know your coaching staff because they've all watched them as kids. They know exactly what Slater's like. They know exactly what Smith's like, what Thurston's like. I guarantee you, anytime they all talk in meetings and huddles, they're sitting there like puppies just looking at them. At the moment, there's a little bit of disconnect between, I think, Freddie and Brandy in a way, where I think Matty Johns has that respect amongst the playing group at the moment with his media career, how good it's going. Everyone knows him, and I think that's the sort of figure that could help New South Wales moving forward. That's just my thoughts, but